After dropping everything to drive 6 hours for my mother's surgery, I walked into her hospital room to hear her laughing with my sister, saying, "Thank God my real daughter is here now." When I stepped forward, she looked right through me and said, "Can you get us some coffee?" I spent that night crying in the hospital parking lot. 3 months later, they were calling me, desperate for help when insurance wouldn't cover her care. 3 months ago, I drove 6 hours straight to be there for my mom's heart surgery. I wasn't asked to come. No one begged me. I just showed up because I thought it was the right thing to do. I took off work, packed a bag, filled up the tank, and hit the road from Asheville to Charleston. I didn't even tell anyone I was coming. I just wanted to be there for her. That's what I thought daughters were supposed to do. But when I walked into her hospital room, everything changed. Let me back up first. I'm the older daughter. My name's Melanie. I'm 36, single, no kids, working as a paramedic. I've always been the one who showed up. When Dad died suddenly from a stroke 10 years ago, I was the one who moved back home to help sort out the estate. When Mom broke her hip 3 years ago, I spent 2 weeks sleeping on her couch, cooking and bathing her. I missed work, lost overtime, and still kept showing up. My younger sister, Lacey, is the complete opposite. She's 33, flaky, pretty, and knows it. She's the kind of person who maxes out credit cards on trips she can't afford, then comes crying to Mom when bills show up. She's never held a steady job. Never paid Mom back for anything. Yet somehow, she's the favorite. Always has been. Growing up, Mom used to say Lacey just needed more attention, because she was sensitive. But it never stopped. She'd crash her car. Mom would cover it. She'd screw up her rent. Mom would send money. Meanwhile, I was the one paying my own way, and somehow I was still the moody one. So when I heard about the surgery, just a short message from a cousin saying Mom was being admitted for a heart procedure, I dropped everything. I didn't even hesitate. I drove through traffic, rain, and construction delays. Took me almost 7 hours, all in. I got to the hospital around 7:30 p.m., tired and hungry, but relieved I'd made it. I asked the front desk for her room. The nurse pointed me to the 4th floor. I walked down a long, cold hallway. The lights were too bright. The walls were beige. I felt a knot in my stomach. When I opened the door to room 423, I heard laughter. Not light chuckles. Full-on laughing. Like a party. Mom was sitting up in bed, smiling. Lacey was there too, sitting beside her, talking fast and loud like she always does. I was halfway through the door when I heard Mom say it. "Thank God my real daughter is here now." Lacey laughed and leaned into her. They clinked their plastic water cups together like they were drinking champagne. I froze. It didn't even make sense at first. I thought maybe I'd misheard. But then Mom looked right at me, no smile, no recognition, and said, "Can you get us some coffee? The good kind, from the lobby." That's it. That's all she said. I stood there, stunned. I felt like I got punched in the stomach. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Lacey just smirked a little, then looked away. Mom didn't even seem to care. I turned around and left. I didn't go back. I didn't check into a hotel. I didn't grab food. I went straight to the hospital parking lot, sat in my car, and cried like I was 5 years old. It was dark, cold, and raining. I sat there for hours, thinking maybe she'd call. Maybe she'd realize what she'd done. But nothing came. When I got back to Asheville the next morning, I ignored every text from Lacey. Mom didn't text at all. Not a thank you. Not even a sorry. A week later, Mom left me a voicemail. No apology. No warmth. Just, "I hope you're not being dramatic." That was it. So I stopped answering. Weeks went by. I focused on work, tried not to think about it. But the truth is, it ate me alive. I kept replaying it over and over in my head. Her face. Her tone. Like I was just some delivery person. Then last week, out of nowhere, Lacey called me. I didn't recognize the number at first, but when I answered, it was her. "Hey," she said, voice all casual. "So, we're having a little situation." I stayed quiet. "Mom's rehab isn't covered by her insurance," she went on. "It's, like, a lot of money. And we were thinking maybe you could help. Just until we figure something out." I was stunned. "We?" I asked. "As in you and Mom?" She said, "Yeah. I mean, she said you're always the one who handles stuff. She said you'd come through." I just sat there in silence. Then I said, slow and clear, "Tell Mom to ask her real daughter." And I hung up. Lacey didn't call again that day. But 2 days later, I got a text. It was a long paragraph. I didn't even finish reading it. I just saw words like unfair, family, and doing your part. I deleted it without responding. I thought that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. A week later, I got a call from a number I didn't know. I let it go to voicemail. Turns out, it was someone from the rehab facility. A case manager. Said she was calling on behalf of my mother and sister, that they needed help setting up a payment plan. I didn't call back. Then things got worse. I started getting voicemails from other family members. An aunt I hadn't spoken to in years left a message asking why I was abandoning my mother. A cousin from Florida, who hadn't even come to Dad's funeral, suddenly wanted to talk about forgiveness and doing what's right. I didn't answer any of them. I kept my head down. Went to work. Tried to ignore it. Then one night, around 11 p.m., someone knocked on my apartment door. I live alone. No one visits me unannounced. I looked through the peephole and my stomach dropped. It was Lacey. She looked worn out. Hair a mess, dark circles under her eyes, holding her phone in one hand and a folder in the other. I didn't open the door. She knocked again. "Mel," she said softly. "Please." I still didn't open it. "Look, I know you're mad. I know Mom messed up. But this is serious. She could end up on the street. Or worse." I stood there in the dark, watching her through the peephole. She started crying. Real tears. Not her usual fake stuff. "I can't do this alone," she said. "I'm not built for this." "You are." That hit me harder than I expected. I didn't open the door. But I spoke. "You had a chance," I said. "Both of you. And you treated me like garbage. Now you want me to fix it again?" "She's our mom, Mel," she whispered. "No," I said. "She's your mom." That's what she said, remember? Lacey leaned her head against the door. She stayed like that for a while, then left. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I found out they were trying to start a GoFundMe. One of my cousins shared it on Facebook. It said something like, "Help us save our mother's life. Insurance won't cover her post-op care, and we have nowhere else to turn." I stared at it for a long time. No mention of me. No mention of what happened. Just Lacey, smiling in an old photo with Mom, looking like perfect daughters. The comments were full of sympathy. "So sorry you're going through this." Sending prayers. Donated. I didn't comment. I didn't share. I just watched. Then, a week later, I got another voicemail. This one was different. It was Mom. Her voice was shaky. Not the usual cold tone. She sounded tired. Small. "Melanie. I don't know what to say. I know I hurt you. I know I took you for granted. I was wrong. I see that now. I really do. She paused for a long time. I'm scared. And I don't know what's going to happen. I wish I had treated you better. You didn't deserve what I said. I'm sorry. She hung up after that. I listened to it 3 times. And still, I didn't call back. 2 weeks went by after that voicemail. I didn't call. I didn't text. I thought about it, I really did. Played every scenario in my head, what I'd say, how I'd say it, if I'd cry or scream or stay cold. But I never picked up the phone. Then one morning, I woke up to a voicemail from my boss. I was scheduled for a 24-hour shift, but she told me not to come in. Said someone filed a concern about my mental health. That I might be dealing with unresolved trauma that could affect my work. I was shocked. My work record is spotless. I've handled worse weeks than this one without blinking. I called her back and asked what she meant. She hesitated. I'm just passing along what I heard, she said. Someone said you'd been crying at work, acting distracted. Said maybe you shouldn't be out in the field. Who said that? She wouldn't give me a name. But I knew. There's only one person who would go that far. One person who's done it before. Lacey. Back when we were teenagers, I got into my dream college, full scholarship. A week before I was supposed to leave, someone sent an anonymous tip to the school claiming I plagiarized my application essay. They flagged my file. I had to spend weeks clearing it up. I always suspected it was her. So now she's trying again. To punish me. To scare me into helping. I was furious. But also, tired. That same day, I got another email from the rehab center. This one wasn't just a request. It was a demand. If the next payment didn't come through, they'd be discharging my mother in 3 days. They attached documents. Bills. Charts. Even Mom's medical notes. She wasn't doing well. And it looked like she hadn't told Lacey everything. Her condition had worsened. Something with her kidneys. Early signs of failure. They were managing it, but without round-the-clock care, she'd go downhill fast. And then, buried in the email, was something else. A scanned document. A copy of a request from my mother to change her medical proxy. It used to be Lacey. Now she was trying to name me. I stared at it for 10 minutes straight. That's when it hit me, she didn't just want my help, she needed control. Lacey couldn't handle it. She was spiraling. Probably broke. Probably losing it. And Mom? Mom was scared enough to try and hand me the wheel after everything. I didn't sign it. But I did make a phone call. Not to the rehab. Not to Mom. To a lawyer. If they were dragging me into this mess, I was going to protect myself first. The lawyer I called was a woman named Janice. She was sharp, fast-talking, didn't sugarcoat anything. I told her everything about my mother, the surgery, the coffee incident, the GoFundMe, the proxy change, and the voicemails. She listened without interrupting. Then she asked me one question: what do you want out of this? I didn't answer right away. I hadn't really thought about it in a clear way. I just felt anger. Hurt. And something colder beneath that. I guess I wanted them to feel what I felt: forgotten, used, invisible. I want them to stop pulling me in, I said. I want this to end. Janice filed paperwork the next day. I officially declined the proxy change. I made it clear I wouldn't take financial or legal responsibility for my mother's care. Then she sent a notice to the rehab center, professional and firm. No more calls, no more emails. They had to go through my lawyer now. And just like that, the phone stopped ringing. But that wasn't the end. 2 weeks later, a neighbor of my mother's called me. Mrs. Kravitz. She's been on that street forever, the kind of lady who watches everything from her front porch. She told me Lacey had moved out, packed her stuff and left without telling anyone. Left Mom alone. Your mom's not doing good, she said. She's weak. I saw her fall last week. She wouldn't let me call anyone. I thanked her and hung up. And I did nothing. That night, I sat on my couch in silence for a long time. I thought about driving back to Charleston. Just to see her. Just to make sure she was still alive. But I didn't move. This is the part one don't tell people. I waited. I waited another 5 days before I finally called 911. I gave them the address. Told them I was worried about an elderly woman who might be in distress. When the paramedics got there, they found her on the kitchen floor. Dehydrated, barely conscious. She hadn't eaten in days. They admitted her to the hospital. She recovered, but just barely. Her kidneys were worse. They had to start dialysis. Without someone to manage her meds and appointments, she'd go downhill again. Fast. The hospital called me. I didn't answer. They called my lawyer. Janice told them I was not the point of contact and had legally removed myself from all decision-making. That's when the real consequences started. The GoFundMe dried up. People started asking questions. Someone must have figured out the story wasn't adding up. Donors pulled their money back. Lacey's friends turned on her. And then I got one final message. It was a letter. Handwritten. From Mom. Her handwriting was shaky, but still hers. Melanie, it said. I understand now. What I did, how I treated you. I was blind. I thought I was protecting Lacey by making excuses. I didn't see what it did to you. I just wanted peace in the family, and I thought keeping her close would give me that. I was wrong. She wrote about the hospital. About lying there alone. About the silence. About how it felt when the nurses stopped checking in regularly, how it felt to realize no one was coming. I used to think you were cold, she wrote. But now I see you were strong. And I was weak. She ended it with, I'm sorry. I hope someday you'll forgive me. But I understand if you don't. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. I didn't write back. I never visited her again. She died 6 months later. I found out through a cousin. There was no funeral. Just a short notice in the paper. No mention of me. No obituary. Just a date, a name, and the line, survived by her daughter, Lacey. I stood in my kitchen that night with a glass of water in my hand, staring at the floor. I didn't cry. I didn't feel relief either. Just quiet. I had done everything for her until the very end. And when she finally needed me, really needed me, I was gone. That was my revenge. And it cost all of us.